Everybody, and welcome back to a very exciting edition of my Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume Show today, we got a very exciting guest, and he's a professional wrestler, and his name is LeatherFace. FMW's Leather, and he also goes by Chainsaw Tony, and he is known for putting on the leather face mask, swinging a chainsaw around, scaring the shit out of the wrestling fans, and getting in the ring and kicking some ass. So I'm really looking forward to talking to him. It's going to be a fun time and a fun interview. We're going to hear a lot of stories. So if you're into death matches and the Japanese style of professional wrestling, stay tuned because you're going to love this interview with my guest. And my cousin Billy Rock will be joining me, and he's going to be my co-host. I am Rocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters. I am the host of the Grue Room, and my interview with FMW's Leather, Chainsaw Tony Myers, will be coming up very shortly. So stay tuned and welcome to my nightmare. Okay, welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for taking time out of your night and coming on the show. I've been really looking forward to this, and so is Billy.
Yeah.
That's great. It's a pleasure to be a guest. Have a platform and whatnot.
Thank you.
This lighting is atrocious for the people. I've been thinking this thing I've been messing with it for like 20 minutes now, talking to you guys. A behind the scenes view.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
And the first thing I want to start out asking, like we talked about it a little bit. You sell merchandise, and that's what you were doing first, and then from selling the merch, is that how you got involved with going into the ring?
It was just me as a fan wanting to collect what I could and what I thought was of interest, and lo and behold, there was other people along the way, and so many of those people became referees, casters, and involved with wrestling. Just a bunch of us like, oh, we like this kind of wrestling, or we want to collect this, or we want to have fun watching. Here, I even collected some of that Ring of Honor.
Yes.
So, yeah, and every now and then I'll check out like other things about stuff. I got somebody right now who I'll throw a shout out to Josh Turner. He died for Wing. He came all the way from the Carolinas to meet me and Onita at WrestleCon at the ECW arena. And he is working on, he has 11 folders. Each one of them has 15 gigs on them each. And that's all me wrestling in Japan. And so he got through the very first folder, but it's taken him weeks. Because, I mean, you can imagine what it's like having to go through all that footage. It's something that me, myself, I don't have the time, or I couldn't do. So he's a true diehard for doing it that way. That's unbelievable. The time and patience and effort that it takes alone.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is.
And what we're going to do is I'm going to go back and do like audio commentary on it, because people are going to watch this stuff from Japan and be like, what the hell is this? Like, what is going on here? I don't understand the premise. Because it gets lost in translation. There's press conferences. Yeah, there's press conference on there, and these people aren't going to understand what we're talking about and all the details of what we're saying, what the angles are. So, yeah, I go back and do that.
Okay.
So we're going to provide our own audio for it. In addition to the audio that's already on it. I can't avoid this fluorescent light to save my life. I'd have to sit here like this.
Okay.
Hold the damn thing. Make sure. Yeah. It's rough.
No problem. So like, who did you train with when you wanted to get into the ring?
Well, there was these tiny shows out on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and all of us tape traders knew about them because we would all meet there to exchange tapes. Joel Gertner was part of our ring back then.
Yeah.
He was 14, 15 years old, and he was getting involved as a manager, as a professional wrestling manager. So, long story short, I just goofed around, and when I was like 2 days after I was 15, I was in a battle royal, and I had no training whatsoever. They were hard up and needed guys because it was in the middle of a snowstorm
Oh.
in 1989. Yeah, so I wound up getting a ride from one of my brother's friends because my older brother's 5 years older than me, and his friends had all, his younger friends had all gotten their license around then, so they were willing to drive anybody anywhere, just to be goofy and drive around and have fun. And I found out I had always heard about Larry Sharp's Monster Factory. So
Yeah.
that was the first stop I made, and he just took one look at me in '89. I'm 15 years of age and 95 pounds and only 5'2" and didn't hit a growth spurt or anything yet. I went down there. He's just like, "Yeah, we can do a referee with you, or maybe a manager. I don't know. Help clean up around here." He's like, "I got a guy installing toilets, like." But from there, like the next stop was Bill DeMont had a racquetball court. Or no, that came fourth. What came next was actually Mike Sharp's gym. No, I take it back. Even before that, ECPW in Lake Hiawatha, New Jersey.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I was 17 years old, walked in there. I was like, all right, this is going to cost me a lot of money. They're not charging me by the workout like Larry Sharp is, which by then Larry Sharp, he wound up charging me like 1,500, for me to break in as a referee, manager or whatever. Yeah. So while I'm paying that money off, I started going to ECPW, and then around Devin Storm and Inferno Kid and all those guys.
Mhm.
And Danny was only like 15 years old back then. Him and Tommy Fierro, they were all going down to Mike Sharp's. So that was another place. I
Okay.
went, third place was Mike Sharp's. And then Bill DeMont had a racquetball court in Lodi, New Jersey. And, he was always somebody I saw all over the Indies as Big Sweet William. So I was going down there. So it was like between all four of those places for the first 4 or 5 years of, starting out in Jersey before I got the call to go to Memphis.
Wow.
A combination of all four of those places. And Larry Sharp's just became too far for me to, to make the transit to. I mean, plus they had went from, they changed locations too, and Charlie Fulton was no longer there. So it was just like, by then it was like, well, you had Bill DeMont School, you had ECPW, and you had Iron Mike Sharp School in Brick Township, New Jersey. So it's like,
Oh,
what's
wow.
the point of going to yet another one,
Right, exactly.
Yeah, because Sharps and Mike Masters co-owned ECPW at the time. Those places were doing, monthly shows in front, like student shows. So, I mean, it was the experience to get out in front of people. And I kept going back to Lower East Side Wrestling too, where I knew the Joel Gertners and Firehawk and all those other guys. Boss Hog Calhoun was toxic back then. Jason Knight would come in. Billy Kidman was always there with Chris Canyon. It's
Nice.
funny because
Nice.
later on down the line, when they came to Memphis, they stayed at my place. And I'm like, yeah, we're in Memphis now. Yeah. It was that and only me, and I had moved down there by the point.
Yeah, yeah, it's home of the king, Jerry Lawler, right?
Yeah, which I was always a huge fan of his anyway. I met up with Eddie Gilbert and Jerry Lawler just by making them VHS, like 6 hours, VHS tapes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So in Jersey, when they would come up with Dennis Maluzzo, there I was, always with a tape in hand, always trying to help Eddie with his bags, anything I could do, because they're two guys, Memphis guys, that I really looked up to.
Wow, okay. And for the fans who don't know, like, what FMW was, can you tell us a little bit about what it was and when the wrestling league formed?
Yeah. So in 1989, just after FMW had launched, and they were the first like group to actually do kind of like mixed martial arts. Like they would have a karate guy against a boxer, and then they'll have like a grappling wrestler against like a jujitsu guy, and
Wow.
all that other noise. And but their main events, because Onita's knees were bad at that point, and he knew his physical limitations, even though he was like a top all Japan light heavyweight back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
What they wound up doing was he just took violence and, you know, the level of violence like off the friggin' chart, you know, wrapping ropes
Yes.
with wire and all this. And the first time that I was collecting pro wrestling magazines, which I mean, I showed you guys. It'd be cool if I showed the people, you know, paying attention right now. All them magazines, like in the back of them, you would see like Pogo and Onita, like a
Mhm.
year after FMW was up and going, and I had already started training to be a wrestler. You would see them in these magazines, and they were bloody, and Onita was dumping water over his head and crying during his promos, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Like,
Yes.
you know, how does pro wrestling get to this? I had to know more about it. I'm like, I'm fascinated by this intriguing new type of wrestling. Now I'm like, what, you know, what is going on here? And then I remembered seeing Pogo and like, you know, his name in the results for Puerto Rico. So I'm like, all right, this guy must be really good. He must, you know, I mean, to go from one country to the next and
Mhm.
still stay relevant and be as strong and on top as he was in almost every territory I read results on the guy, he was always at the top of the card. So, you know, I just became fascinated. And then the more that you learn about the story of FMW, because it's a story that's so interesting to be told. A guy starts out with his last $400, borrows a bunch of money from his friends, and within 5 years becomes an independent that's legit selling out baseball stadiums. Is a story that can never ever be told and done like that ever again.
Wow.
It's just not. It's
Oh,
not
wow.
possible to get it to that level, and it can't be replicated. You know.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
so already with me being a wrestler, you know, I just, you know, had to pursue this. I had to find out, like, how do I get to be a part of that? How can someone like me eventually wind up doing that? From day one, Japan was always the goal, because I was just fascinated by the work ethic and the characters and the guys. And I mean, the level of commitment they have alone is inspiring. So I had to be a part of it somehow, some way, eventually.
Yeah, definitely.
I keep
And
telling you, I need to clean my DVDs that it's not reading. With that's what that horrible noise that I hate hearing means.
exactly. And like you were saying, the FMW was known for the death matches and hardcore wrestling, and then Wing also start coming up too. And you worked for both of them. So how was it like working for both Wing and FMW?
Well, with the original Wing, you know, of course, now incarnations of it exist,
Yeah.
you know, to this very day in Japan, just because it's a way for people to pay respect, and they still have a lot of the original Wing, you know, not a lot, but what's left of the original FMW wrestlers and what's left of the original Wing wrestlers, you know, they still pay their homage, they still pay their respect. Um, they built like a shrine on stage for Mr. Pogo
Oh
every single
wow.
time I go to one of their house shows. Yeah, they build like they erect like an entire it almost looks like it almost looks like some kind of sacred something or other. You know, you go into a cave and see where all of his old items are put on display like a museum, and you could see it in their DVDs, you could see it in the background.
Oh
You know,
wow.
people leave like bottles of liquor and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and all kinds of crazy flowers and
Mm.
everything. Um, so what it wound up being was that Eddie Gilbert had a foot in the door with Wing, and I kind of coattailed off of him. And I said, how do I get to be a part of that? And Eddie was, you know, oh, keep sending your stuff here. And, you know, I just kept writing and trying to get a hold of people, trying to get a hold of people, trying to get a way in. And then when by the time they went to bring me over, Eddie had been gone from Wing. So it was like, how the hell did we wind up with this guy? And I mean, I was taking my Memphis job guy, you know, TV matches I had, uh, I was taking those and that's what I was making as my wing, you know, as a DVD or
Yeah.
VHS. Date myself again. VHS back in the day. I'd keep sending that stuff over, and they saw me wrestling all the Memphis guys that have been there, the Bart Sawyers and Bill Dundees, and all the people from Wing that already toured, Dutch Mantel.
Mm-hmm.
I guess through the magic of editing the video cassette, I put together enough offense on the VHS demo that I sent them. So it was enough, I guess, to get them impressed. But problem was I was all by myself and everything. There was no Eddie Gilbert, no other real foreigners there that were going to go to bat. They had a working deal with PWC, Pro Wrestling Crusaders, because they were pretty much cherry picking. Like they got my buddy Hideki Hosaka, who has since passed from stomach cancer.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's
spread-
horrible.
Yeah, just imagine being a young guy and showing up, and he's like one of your first friends that you befriend there. So they wound up cherry picking him and putting him in Wing. And
Okay.
there I was still stuck at PWC, Pro Wrestling Crusaders, who at one point they were working hand in hand with Go Ryoma and his PRS Baka. And
Oh,
he was
yeah.
he was getting all kinds of friggin' new sponsors, which you could read about them on the internet. Those stories are just crazy. They're out there, but they're all true. He got indebted to organized crime that he shouldn't have kept asking for the funding for. And
Oh, wow.
yeah. So also too, I met Pogo, who was in the midst of leaving. He was going from Wing back to FMW and
Yeah.
he bounced back from one to the next. And then Pogo told me, you know, one day I'm going to have my own indie fed, which at the time you were hearing that from all the Japanese people and watching like Ryuma go time and time and time and time again and get new sponsors. And, you know, there was once the success of FMW happened, those people had to start at Wing.
Mhm.
It opened up a gigantic floodgate in Japan where everybody went out and got their own indie because they saw that Onita was able to succeed doing it. So I was lucky enough to have, you know, be able to freelance. And what it was, people would pay for your flight to come in. They just wanted to make good on the money. So they would loan
Yeah.
you out other places when you were on your day off so you could freelance for a different indie. But yeah, I'm getting so far ahead of what you originally asked me. Yeah.
It's all right.
Being a young guy and seeing things coming up like that and watching Wing as the buzz of the talk of the town, talk of the industry. Then, you know, some of those guys leave and they start IWA Japan and
Mhm.
then watching that whole thing come up, it's like it was incredible to see, but you knew it was only going to get so hot. Like
Yeah.
even I knew in my early my early 20s, like, you know, there's so many indies and you don't really see the fans coming in like they were, like not in bulk to one group. They were just spread out everywhere. So watching the winds of change over the years, just like in the American scene, you don't see some of it coming, but other stuff you're like, oh, it's too obvious what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And I was reading on the line like when you put on the mask and became Leatherface, that was actually something that Mr. Pogo gave to you, right?
Yeah, it was all Pogo's idea, but in latter years, Onita was the one that chose to rename me and redo the whole Chainsaw Tony thing because he wanted to involve Chainsaw Charlie.
Oh.
Yeah, a couple months ago when he met the New Age Outlaws, I go, those two are responsible single-handedly for Chainsaw Charlie. And he was like, get the fuck out. And I go, yeah, that's Bob Armstrong's son. And Onita's mind was blown because, you know, he's the biggest Terry Funk fan, still a protege, still feels that's his sensei and everything. But yeah, it was 2000. And because of 9/11,
Mhm.
at the time, Rick Patterson was having a rough time getting back from Canada. And by then, Kirshner had his legal problems with the country of Japan because he had a prior arrest. So it was getting more and more difficult with him, you know, without the regular work and the original FMW collapsing. And all these independents that sprung up in the meantime. But I was around. Um, I was around, and Rick Patterson wasn't. He was back in Canada, and just it was on a random house show back in 2000. And Pogo's like, "Here, we'll go." And he went to like a hardware store, kind of like a Home Depot, and got this horrible orange friggin' this like orange smock. It almost looked like, and we just got like a dollar store LeatherFace mask we were able to put together. And Pogo's like, I don't know, originally he had a handsaw because of something he was working on. I'm like, I'm not going out there with no handsaw. Without the chainsaw, the gimmick's dead. So what he did was, in Japan, they don't have like a return policy. Like once you buy something, you buy something. There's no lawyers. There's no real attorneys because there's no real lawsuits in Japan. So, but he was able to, because at first he wanted to buy the chainsaw and then return it the next day. And I go, well, they're going to see all the friggin' shit splattered all over it. He goes, well, don't start it up. I go, well, then it's pointless then. But eventually he found a sponsor. He found the guy that was buying a chunk of tickets that was a sponsor of WWS. He found the guy that loaned him a chainsaw. And then, eventually, like the more WWS cards that came up, he started taking out of my check, and he would just keep the chainsaw there. I don't even know what the hell he did with my original chainsaw. I'm like, I paid for it. He took it out of my check. Like, what the hell? My check. So what the hell?
Oh my God.
Even
Oh, man.
WWF, they run more frequently than people realize. Where it gets lost is that, they'll file something under WWS, and it'll be like their one show that they build in 3 months for. But in the meantime, there's Yappy and there's CPE, and there's the matches that they do that don't have a ring, that they're actually contested on like an actual mat. And I've done so many hundreds of those over the years.
Wow.
Eventually, I was living in Memphis. I brought the idea back to have the no ring thing. Death matches are just, I brought that back, and that was back in 07 in Memphis, and people took one look at it and they're like, what is this, backyard wrestling? It's like, it translates poorly. But now you see there's a lot of no ring,
Exactly.
bars.
Exactly.
Yeah. People eventually warmed up to it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And FMW and Wing were known for a lot of the horror stuff. Like they had someone as Jason, as Freddy, and even the crypt keeper, and of course you as Leatherface. Like, did you ever get a chance to work like or tag with like the Jason or Freddy?
Yeah, plenty of times. And to this day, the original Jason, because you remember the head Tracy Smothers was in there as Jason too at one point.
Yeah.
At the original Jason feud with the old Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, to this day, he still remained a very good friend of mine. He's down in Florida, Home Security Systems. So Raphael is his, legal name.
Okay.
And you don't even try to hide that he used to be Jason. Everybody knows. So, but yeah, I mean, it was always the monsters. It'd just be like a colossal feature, like you could put Leatherface with Freddy Krueger against the Crypt Keeper and Jason.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and today, even to this day, throughout all the various incarnations, Kenkatai is almost always Jason.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, it's Hamano that does everything. He's like my, he does Gaijin leather, he does monster leather, but it's a joke everyone's kind of in on because they know it's a Japanese native under the mask. At first, when we went full blast with it, I told him, I was like, you speak a bit of English. I was like, if you want to get the gimmick over as Freddy Krueger, speak English, dude.
Yeah.
And then eventually I started getting like frustrated with him, and I'm like, you're just gonna, and he goes, nah, I don't know. He's like, I'm focusing on the wrestling. I was like, all right, well, he's a monster, not just some guy dressed up as that. You got to commit. But yeah, he to this day he does Boogeyman, he does Freddy Krueger, does the monster leather thing. He's White Mummy, which it's kind of funny because me and Ken Katayo both wrestled as White Mummy in IWA Kokosai.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's he does about all the monster gimmicks. Crazy Bee, he's the mask Crazy Bee under the mask. Well versed guy as far as like karate goes and jujitsu and all that stuff. I
Wow.
mean, yeah, he Hamano is one guy nobody wants to mess with. It's just bell to bell, bell to bell. He never really got the grasp of wrestling, but you know, he bell to bell it works because you know you there's always something there to do in the ring with him.
Mhm.
There's always something that he's working on. There's always some, you know, he's still trying to improve. It's not like he's given up and you know, every now and then he'll just bow his head and be like, oh, I'm fucking terrible. Oh no, can I curse on this thing? Or
Yeah, definitely. And for portraying a character like Leatherface, are you a fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre film?
yeah, from the first minute I saw it, I was like, you know, I remember watching it, waking up on a Saturday morning. My buddy had slept, my buddy Daryl slept over my house, and the both of us were like in high school. I'd always heard about the movie.
Yeah.
My sister would always put it over to me. My brother knew all about it, but then it wasn't until me and my friend Dow rented at a local video store in the year 1990, and I sat there and I watched it, and just we both woke up and we're like, "Oh, we didn't see that Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing." And he's like, "Man, I've heard so much about this movie." I watched it, and then I was like, my mind was like blown. I'm like, "What the
Yes.
hell did we just watch?" Like,
Exactly.
chick is screaming. Was that real? Like, well, holy God! Like, people are friggin' great actors and actresses. Like, good Lord, what the hell was that? But I was always a huge fan. Even the reboots and all
Yeah.
the recent stuff. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just so fascinating. There's so many layers to the character. You know,
Exactly.
it's even though a different franchise buys them out, it's still going to keep going.
Oh yeah,
So,
for
Oh
sure.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm even
just like
sporting the
the actual,
Leatherface.
yeah, just like the actual gimmick itself, man. I mean, you know what's really funny? Um, Outside of my shitty chainsaw, which is just like a replacement, one they use for props, the actual legit chainsaw, um, the string popped off it, and I just sold my main mask. So for the first time in my life, and I don't know how many years, for the first time I don't know how many years, I don't have an actual chainsaw and I don't have an actual mask.
Oh
Like
wow.
I got the shitty replacement, but that doesn't count. But no, same buddy of mine that's buying those LJNs. He actually owns and runs his own promotion. He's had me and Sandman in there for a co-signing.
Oh nice.
He
Nice.
is
That's awesome.
responsible working on the mask, and I'm always gonna make my alterations to it.
Oh yeah, of course.
I'm always drawing on it. I'm always putting stitches on it, or if I'm cut, I'll wipe my real blood on it.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's so easy to clean because the thing's handcrafted to my face and everything. So I got to the point when touring Japan, I would just shower with the mask on. It was literally, and it takes nothing to go in there and clean it up, you know. So it's always fun. There's always an element of something that you could always add to it. Last year I added the last 3 years I've added the smoke all around me from it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
awesome.
yeah. I still can't do the sparks, not stateside. Everyone's terrified of the lawsuit.
um, who do you think you had your best match with and your most violent match with?
Oh God, best. Jesus, there's so many guys that I just love to be in the ring with. Naoya Takase has got to be my favorite. He's the current WWS heavyweight champion.
Oh
He's the
nice.
one that my previous incarnation lost the damn belt to him and never won it back. Naoya Takase, bell to bell. Geez, that's like asking me to name my favorite kid.
Right, exactly.
Here lately, it's gotten a lot easier to do that. No, Venkataya. I mean, I've always had outstanding. Definitely Hiroshi Watanabe, who I met way back in the day at IWA Kokusai. He's a smaller guy, but to me, he'll always be like the Chris Daniels of Japanese independent
Oh,
wrestling. Because
nice.
he can just have these killer matches with anybody, and he makes it look so easy. And so many times we'll go in there, we'll barely even speak to one another, or we get caught up, or we're booked on other matches on the card, and we barely have to say anything to each other. And it's just so much to do with him. So good. And I'm just scratching the surface.
Oh, wow.
Naoshi Sano, who has been around the indies forever, him too. Tamahiko Hashimoto. God, I could keep going on and on. Ichiro Yaguchi, my church buddy, who was a huge dude. He was on one of the message boards. One of the fans referred to him as Forever Indie Drifter. Ichiro Yaguchi, because he's wrestled for every friggin' group known
Okay.
to one coast to another in Japan. So it just seems like he's forever an indie drifter in Japan.
And, Billy, you got some questions you want to ask now.
Yes, absolutely. So how was it working with Pogo with his fireballs?
Yeah, I mean, before, because it wasn't until in recent years that I wanted to grow the hair out, because I wanted to do something brand new for the LeatherFace gimmick, like something that hadn't been done before, and a way to modernize it. And I just kind of put it all together, like, what is going to ultimately separate you from the first two? It's like, all
Yeah.
right, well, those guys never used real hair, and, which is ironic because Kirshner had like this real long, full head of hair. He could have always just used that instead of what was given on the mask, but he's like, too hard to maintain, it tangled up too much. But I always try to combine the first two things. And Pogo knew it too, which it was WWF was always awesome with Pogo, because any kinks that you wanted to try, any kinks that you had to work out, anything that you knew that you wanted to try, Pogo was always all for it. Pogo was always, dangerous dude, what he wanted to be. But he was definitely a rational guy that had a business to run. So it never really dawned on him, just how dangerous and how crazy some of the stuff that we do is. But as a way to preach loyalty to him, you're mid to late 20s, so you're trying to impress him and you're trying to preach company loyalty. And eventually I wound up working in his office, and he do nothing but drive around all day long, put up posters, drop off chunks and chunks of tickets, to sell to people. And just everything that comes with everything. He'd go to send out T-shirts. His hands were bad at that point. He couldn't sit there and hold the shirt.
Oh.
But it'd be a rotating door for people that would go in there and have to go over there and help him with office stuff that he needed to take care of. Going down here with him to town hall and having to tell those people we're using fire here, the exit's over here, and then this is this and this and that, it was so interesting to see him as a businessman taking care of everything. But inside the ring, he has to be one of my all-time favorite. And the sad thing is I only got to wrestle him maybe 24 times throughout all those years. It's almost like looking back, I should have just savored more of that moment. But with at the time I wrestled 2-3 times under 2-3 masks or whatever. You're selling one match and getting through with that match and finding that guy and being like, yo, thanks, what should we work on next, to run it over there to Pogo. And classic case in point, I couldn't wait to get together with the guy Trax that I wrestled at the ECW arena a few weeks back, right?
Yeah exactly.
Yeah.
I am being pulled in so many different directions. Tony, we need this, and then the barbed wire on the table for this, and hey, do you have this, or where did you put the snips, and all this. So it's like every time I go to the guy Trax, and we would go to call something, or just even catch up with each other, somebody else like pulling me away, and I'm like, just imagine like matches, 2 or 3 different matches like that, or they're 2-3 different. So you're pulling off one mask and getting shit on for the other, changing out boots. and then you're being pulled away. It's just I wish to God, because Pogo is so easy. I mean, how hard is it to sit there and listen to somebody who knows, who's drawn money? How hard is it to sit there and just listen to the guy? And, you know, but the things that he would do, the little things that he would do to get incite people and get them into it was just so interesting.
Oh,
Even
wow.
his body positioning in the ring, and, you know, telling me, he's like, I always like to lock up like from corner to corner and then meet. He goes,
Mhm.
this way, all four sides of the ring see it.
Oh,
That he
okay.
was so interesting. Yeah.
Nice. So, do you have any funny stories with Onita and Pogo you'd like to share?
Oh man, there's so many. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, almost everything with Onita is a comedy bus, because he's going to do something that's going to entertain himself, if not you. And, you know, at times, you know, it gets to being a little too much between the both of us, and you got to pull back. But good God, you know, everything from going like, you know, because he was here stateside, so I always told him I've been waiting for so long for him to come back to the States
Mhm.
and me treat him the same way that he treats me when I'm over there in Japan. And then he starts getting mad, like, you know, oh, you're paying for everything. You know, he's like, oh, why don't you let me treat you? And hey, man, I got my own money, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even know where to begin with, like, as far as like the crazy stories go and everything with him. Stuff from like Totoken, where he can hide and throw stuff at you and goof off with you. He has like such a good relationship with the guy from Totoken Museum. But even then, it was like half of those press conferences, I wasn't even in my gear at all. You know, it was just me and just like street clothes, you know. And I'm like, I don't have to stand up, do I? The first thing he does is like, he'll tell me, I'm calling you out, stand up. And I'm like, oh, you're such a dick, man. I'm like, you did it on purpose. It's like Nico would be like, hey, what the hell's Leatherface doing in blue jeans, you know? And I go, you're killing the illusion. He goes, you look like such an idiot standing there with your hands in your pocket. Yeah, Pogo too. Pogo loved to friggin' rib, even more than Onita. Onita will do it just to entertain himself, but Pogo was just like a way of life. But then him too. Eventually he'd pull back and be like, hey, you know, I'm the boss. You know, what are you thinking? What are you doing? He's like, I'll make shit miserable for you if you do that for me in RP. You used to drive me crazy because Pogo had a form of OCD. So whenever he would go to
Oh.
park his minivan, I would get out the van. I'd smoke an entire cigarette before he got through. He would back it up and pull it and pull it forward and back it up again, back it up. He just had to have it like absolutely perfect in between the. And then there was a time too. I noticed how close he was coming to corners. Now he always had perfect 20/20 vision. To the day he died, his vision was absolutely incredible.
Wow.
He could see stuff from so far away. Never wore glasses a day in his life.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
He would take the corner too short and he would just run over the curb. Next thing you know, the tire starts leaking. I'm like, you're running over the curb. Like, you know, I would keep telling him over and over. And it just got to the point where it was like, it felt like every week in that entire summer, I was outdoors, like changing a tire, just sweating my ass off. I think at one point I contributed that to being a rib or something. I'm like, why?
Okay.
He's like, hey, you probably did it on purpose, you know?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, just to sit there and watch me sweat it out.
Exactly.
But then he would eventually feel bad because he'd send the girl out there with like a cup of water with ice in it. I'm like, I don't tell her. I'm like, I'm about to dump this over my head. It's freaking hot out here. I was like, I don't need this to drink. I need to just dump over myself. If anything, it's just disgusting. The sweat leaking on. I'm not even sweating. I'm leaking.
Bill.
And then was it true that Pogo and Onita would sell out baseball stadiums?
Yeah, they did that, at the height of it. he's so many times, Onita has said, if not for Pogo, FMW wouldn't have made it past that second year.
Oh,
Like
wow.
after the first year of launching, they barely made it. Had it
Wow.
not been for Pogo at the end of that first year, he said that they would have not been in business. He said it was, they would have just went under. I always found it amazing on an indie level, the two of them in any kind of 6-man, 8-man match, set up a ring anywhere and damn near do $250,000 just for one event. But you can't burn the candle at both ends. They couldn't do that. I mean, it would be spreading yourself too thin.
Mhm.
But I always found it amazing. These guys could put up a ring anywhere near Isesaki City and draw $250,000. Tickets, DVD sales, everything. I mean, not too many people have that kind of magic. And for them to do it over and over and over again as many times as they did, I was lucky just to be there. But I knew good well by looking around, I was a part of something that was absolutely incredible. And even now with the current with the current incarnation of FMWE,
Mhm.
they have on top Shadow WX as Mr. Pogo working against Onita in 6-mans and in tag matches. I mean, that's been their top feud ever since they started FMWE. So yeah, his presence is still felt there. It's still a way to pay respect to him. It's still a way, his name is still around. It was just magic whenever you put the two of them, Pogo and Onita. And as far as deathmatch goes, against each other,
Yeah.
it was a license to print money in Japan.
Oh,
And
wow.
because of the residue coming off of them, that all the rest of us got to cement a name and a legacy over there. So where the people know us, just the thing is, we're not the attraction, the drawing card that those two are. Like the people really, there's something about that feud with the both of them that just did it. That even in the smallest town, it would do 2,000 people. It's like,
Oh, wow.
ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, to watch 2,000 or 3,000 people show up to an indie show
Yeah,
with
right.
just their
Exactly.
name on it, pretty much that's all. Their name, yeah. Was just to sit there and I witnessed that, and to work in the office and get to see it.
Mhm.
Talk about something special.
Damn.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know that.
And
Definitely
like I
sounds.
said, in the annals of indie history, in the annals of indie history, it's a story that can't be rewritten. It can't be retold. There's nobody with that kind of pull stateside that can even come near doing that.
Yeah,
Fascinating story to me.
man, that's amazing.
When it's your career, it's your livelihood, how you saved your kids' college funds and help pay off my parents' house, it just everything. Then you really, really take it, as serious as you can. Then it's a career, then it's a business,
Mhm.
But just initially off the top to get to say to do it, oh, that's incredible. To be the person that get to actually do that themselves is just to this day, it just feels like one bizarre dream or something.
Oh, man. So you are Chainsaw Tony and Leather. How did you merge them both?
Well, when Onita, we did the entire thing where all I did was beat me night after night after night after night. It's me and main events. He's like, make sure you talk a lot, make sure you yell a lot, let everybody know, that you are in fact the guy Gene and that you're not just some local guy under a mask. And to add to the layer of it, Onita said, hey, got this idea. He's like, just follow my shit out there. When I say this, he's like, then you attack me and, in the press conference. I go, okay. And he goes, don't call this guy LeatherFace. He goes, we've had two of those menacing people in here. And he goes, this guy here, he goes, everybody knows Tony Myers has been hanging around the Japanese indie scene for years. And he said, call this guy Chainsaw Tony. Don't call him LeatherFace. And he goes, he's something different anyway. I think he's more desperate than the first two. And then, Onita put the whole thing over. And the whole thought, you know, people can believe me, they cannot believe me, but I was there, I was in the office, and this is how it all happened. The initial idea was Chainsaw Tony, Chainsaw Charlie, Mr. Pogo. That would be the 6-man to go like, Ichiro Yaguchi, Hideki Osaka, and Onita, because they teamed in so many 6-mans
Okay.
all the way through from like 2013 all the way up to 2017. And even when Onita came out of retirement, he was still teaming with those guys. Hideki Osaka found out he had cancer. He was still wrestling, and he was still teaming with Onita.
Oh my god.
So,
Oh
you know,
wow.
the whole Chainsaw Tony thing, and two, I thought it was like the silliest name. I hated it initially, but he's like, well, it's better than Super Leather too. And I'm like, I was like, no, because it's bad enough that you got a full-time replacement. That's bad enough. Like, why beat people over the head with it like you're trying to clone one of the original two?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I always said I tried to combine the moveset of the second one, Rick Patterson from Canada, with the charisma and the fire of the original Super Leather. I tried to put my own spin on it, you know, and it made a different mask, a newer mask, not just a mask that you would look at and be like, oh yeah, LeatherFace mask. That's what I didn't want. I wanted something
Yeah.
to be much different. You know, I wanted there to be not even a human side to it either. Because I mean, you still have to cut promos, you still have to talk people into buildings. So just everything about it, even the way I walked. But then it just came to the point where I look at myself and I'm like, you're such a Terry Funk ripoff. You're not doing anything original. You're just ripping off from Terry Funk. And you know, as if it ain't bad enough, I'm a ripoff of a ripoff of a ripoff from a horror movie. So like, really, I just can't win all the way around, no matter how you listen to it.
So when you would run out swinging your chainsaw, a lot of fans would get scared. Did you have fun with that?
That's the most fun you'll ever have, because yeah, there's no lawsuits in Japan. So it's just like, if the cops get called out and God forbid somebody got too close to your chainsaw, the police would be like, wait a minute, you saw a giant monster run at you with a chainsaw, you didn't get the hell out of the way? Like, the hell's wrong with you? Stupid or something? Like, you know, people would know it's a matter of being a friggin' stadoon. You don't get the hell out of the way, and the guy's got a lit chainsaw and he's running. Why wouldn't you get the hell out of the damn way? Like, even the cops would look at it that way. Even the wrestlers, you know, it's such a unique gimmick, because like everybody works together to put it over. You got
Mm-hmm.
people that are doing the security, and they're like telling everyone, "Oh my God, get away, get back! This guy's dangerous." And then you got the fans like running for cover, and you got the announcers. So it's like, I love it because, you know, all eyes are on you. Number one, number two,
Yeah.
it involves everybody, because you know I'm chasing after the camera guy too, you know, the referee, because I was upset with him that things didn't go my way. You know, it's just nobody's left alone. None of the fans are, you know, but people have smartened up so much over the years. But it becomes one of those things. It's kind of funny to say. People, they play along with it. They become
Yeah.
part of. Yeah, they become part of it. They play along with the gimmick. That's me changing out DVDs and I'm ripping to these terabyte drives, which is why my head's coming out of the shot. But yeah, people for the most part just play along with it. But people are so smartened up to it in this day and era that they know you're not going to hurt him or anything.
Well,
you
yeah.
know, he's never hurt anybody. So eventually that matter of eventuality set into where people are like, all right, I'll run along just to play along with the gimmick. But no, I'm not going to, like, you know, they know not to actually be in fear or scared of it, you know, because then they look at all the years that you've been around and they go, well, he's never hit anybody with a chainsaw. I don't think he'll do that. With enough liquid courage in him to be like, yeah, let me try. But yeah, to me, the fun never ends with it. It just goes on and on and on. And I'll just be there until the day comes where I look up there and I'm like, I don't have the energy, or I don't have, so I'll just keep going till the day comes where it just flat out looks bad for me to be anywhere near a ring.
Okay.
That's the way I've always figured out from day one, whether or not I was in the LeatherFace gimmick. It's if you're to the point where you've aged out to the point where you're a step behind and you just look bad. You look like you're moving underwater. That day comes where you just be like, all right, I got to get out of here. This isn't any fun anymore. This isn't good. It's different when you're overseas and it's a regular job.
Yeah, exactly.
So didn't Sabu break your chainsaw?
Yeah, at the ECW arena. As if I wasn't disappointed enough in him, and it's kind of funny because before anything went out there, I'm like, he's gonna go right for my jugular. And I said, it's all right, I'll go with this. And I let him know. I go, you could take it personal if you want, but it's better off if you didn't. You understood where I'm coming from. And he's like, oh, I got you. And he goes, I got a lot to say. That's cool. And that's coming from him. He doesn't really talk much.
Yeah.
But he's standing there with the spike after he kicked the chainsaw. Like, you want it too? I was like, what the hell, man? You stabbed Onita in the eye all the time he brought in you and your uncle. Your uncle's spinning his fucking grave. What are you doing? And he goes, oh, what's the matter? He goes, if Pogo's dead carcass hadn't given you that chainsaw, nobody would have given a shit anyway. And I'm like, oh, hey. I'm like, he's got the party started. He's just going for friggin', he's going for my jugular, man.
Wow. Oh man.
Wants to be talking so openly about the death of the Sheik and the death of Pogo. It's like, that's something that both of us just, I guess it's our way of coping with it. That makes any sense. In a bizarre way, it's our way of coping with it and getting over it. I still think though, like, he openly talks about his ex-wife passing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he's come a long way. He's had it rough. That's all that stuff has been rough on him. He's still here and he's still going.
Yeah.
Still here and still going.
Oh yeah.
Never credit than anything else to him.
So you wrestled and lived in Japan. How was it like living in Japan compared to the States?
Well, everything is so clean. Everything is everything over there, especially like even the mannerisms of the people. It's bizarre. It's a foreign country, but they got their own way of doing things. And for me, I've always been one that I'll adjust to it. I'll adjust to the climate. I'll have to adjust to whatever, especially if you're going to stick it out there and actually make a living there. It's just, the whole when in Rome thing. But, I mean, their work ethic alone over in Japan, no matter if it's people at a regular job or whatever it is, it's just so inspiring. I mean, because you've never seen people with a level of acceptance or people with that, just overall their level of coping with getting over things. And I mean, the loyalty that they hold to their job and their full-time occupation is incredible.
Oh wow.
You don't see that very often, but it's very inspiring. It's a plane going over my head. I live miles from an airport, so there's a giant river. It's called the Whippany River, all the way back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I ran out of duplex. While I'm here stateside, it just wouldn't pay for me to invest in any type of real estate, really.
Yeah.
Who's going to look after the place? I thought about getting a place down the shore.
Oh, nice.
A tiny shoebox and having a place at the Jersey Shore. I thought about doing that, but then I was like, no, who's going to look after the house? Especially like wintertime. No one's going to the beach in the winter.
Yeah, sure. You're right.
Yeah. So I was like, it's just an accident waiting to happen. it's a bunch of people surrounded that I surrounded myself with in life going, oh, I'll take care of the house. Don't worry. I'll mow the lawn or I'll, no, you won't. When summer finishes up, nobody's going anywhere near the beach. No,
Yeah, that's true.
they know that they're not too. They can tell me all that they want, but you know for a fact, nobody's dropping what they're doing. Drive down to a cold, freezing beach in the middle of winter and make sure that my water's still running or checking in on the place. A seaside area in Jersey is something else. They all the criminals that are on good behavior, they let them out and they put them up in the the vacant hotels because nobody in Seaside Heights is going to nobody's using a hotel room in the middle of winter at the beach.
Right.
So that's what they do. They let the well-behaved criminals out. And they it's so silly. They give them a nice furnished place to live instead of being in prison. Ridiculousness.
Yeah, silly.
An accident waiting to happen.
So don't
You see the one that they made the news weeks back where they put the transgender in like general population in the prison. They wound up like raping these women.
Oh my God.
It's like they're in a women's prison. That was just anybody saw that coming. Anybody knew that was silly, right?
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. It's insane. People are really horror people in real life too.
Yeah, there sure are.
Yeah.
That's why serial killers, like Americans, are fascinated with serial killers.
Yeah.
Trying to pick the brain of Jeffrey Dahmer and make a celebrity out of him because he did something so vile and disgusting. Yeah. Or people are just taking advantage of the declining morals of society. That's what it's got to be.
It's horrible. It really is. So, so fans in Japan, right? Do they put money in the jar when they buy like merch at an event?
Yeah, the weird thing, is over there is, oh boy, I've seen Miss Mongol was the first person on the indie scene that I saw do this. She put an empty jar out there and she had all her prices like on all of her DVDs and all of her merchandise and everything. And I'm like, it dawned on me then. I go, holy cow, this place is the people here are so open and so honest that they can like leave their gimmick table unguarded. Like try that in Brooklyn. You'll come back to an empty table. I remember a lady walking over there and I had an action figure of myself. And the lady was like, oh, I just thought these, she like picked it up and she was like walking off with them. I'm like, where are you going, lady? And she was like, oh, I thought they were just like giving them away. I'm like, no, these are being sold. I need these. But I mean, that's kind of the mentality that you're dealing with, in other places. It's not what you're used to. You got to tell somebody to watch your stuff. Otherwise, somebody just might walk off with it.
That's true.
Lately, I've done so many conventions and there's so many interesting people there, but I had this one guy that just, I don't know what the hell he was doing. I caught him behind my table like several times. He started storing all the stuff that he bought from all the other vendors. And he was like, oh, I want to come back and buy this magazine and this one and this one. And people would ask me, they're like, do you have any more WWF magazines with Sid Vicious on the cover? I'm like, oh, I'm holding it, you idiot. Like, and then the guy just got so infuriating to be around. Then he's like, behind there, was at an ice rink. It was at a huge hockey arena.
Okay.
And yeah, so he was like sitting his stuff up on the boards and he's still behind my table. And I'm, what the hell? And I was just like, eventually I didn't want to be like rude to the guy, but I'm like, hey buddy, you got to shit or get off the pot here. Like you've been moping around here for like 4 hours now. I keep catching you going behind my table. You're putting all your stuff here. I'm like, you got to buy something to move on. Maybe somebody else will, lend you the room or whatever they need to do. But
yeah,
this is getting ridiculous. Like you got to move on with what you're doing, buddy. this went on for like 3 or 4 hours. He would
Oh my God.
keep coming back with more stuff, and then he'd resituate his stuff, and then he'd take a look at the magazines that I had set on the side for him. I'm just like, God, this got to stop.
So I heard the Great Kabuki, Killer Khan, and Bull Nakano all have bars in Japan.
I've
Have
to
you been there?
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
send you the pictures. I took my own pictures with them several times.
Nice.
Bull so many times over the years. I can honestly call her a friend, and she's good people like that. I had a situation where I, needed something, and she was okay. What I did was I got too drunk when I went to her bar one night. She was there to bail me out. Got me out of the drunk tank. She's like, "Yeah, he's stupid and acting like an idiot. I'm sorry." And they're like, "He came from your bar, didn't he?" And she's like, "Yeah, but he's a good guy." So she basically got me out of trouble.
Okay.
I'll never forget. But she was supposed to be back here stateside, but it was something screwy with her work visa.
Yeah.
Because I think about try to make it like the equivalent of like United States Army. It's out there on the internet. She had a pretty dishonorable discharge, if you want to coin it, phrase it like that. When she was released from the WWF in America. So she had some kind of trouble or whatever with the work visa on that. She sold her bar though.
Oh, wow.
She sold it to the young girls that had all been working there for so many years. Yamada was one of the females who was with All Japan Women seemingly forever, and she does like every indie that you can imagine all over the entire country. So
Wow.
yeah, Yamada's like the head of it, and all the girls work there too, like all the indie
Okay.
women, all the women on the indie scenes, because they do it just like Naoshi Sano has a bar too, a pro wrestling themed bar in Shinjuku.
Oh,
And
nice.
I have been the guest bartender there several times. Me, Jun Kasai, Minoru Fujita, those two also, some of my favorite opponents in the ring. I told you before, it's impossible to narrow it down to just like one. But yeah, it was like with Sano's place though, it's like a hub. You see indie promoters all night long come in, drop off all kinds of posters and tickets and everything for him to sell. Really neat. I mean, you could just take a night off, go up there and just be like, what's going on? What's the indie buzz and that kind of thing. And there's Sano, telling you what's what. I've had so many friends that I've wrestled with in Japan that are foreigners that, foreigners are very, because, hey, look, he's already over here and he's looking for work.
Yeah.
It would be guys that would stay at the Kaintai dojo because guys would track me down. They'd find me on the internet and, they'd want to hang out. They get homesick. They get tired of people that don't speak their language. And,
Yeah, that's true.
they're just trying to get out. It's led to crazy stories. Buck Gunderson, he wrestles Buck Gunderson. He was in OVW for years. Canadian guy.
Mm-hmm.
Ross Aiton is his journalist name. And he did an entire thing where he wrote up about how this tape trader from Jersey wound up becoming Leatherface. This was right after the death of Pogo. And I started to have to get out of the house and try to make life resume back to normal again. Lo and behold, I go out to Sano's bar and Sano's wearing Pogo's shirt.
Nice.
And me and Buck sat up until 6:30 until the crack of dawn, because if you're still drinking, they're still making money, they're going to keep the bar open.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
They keep it open. They'll keep it open all night long as you got like a drink on.
Oh my God.
The only problem is he went to go back to the Kaintai dojo. Here's how it all happened. I go, well, actually, yeah, it was 5:30 in the morning, and we go, we could wait a full hour for the trains and everything to get back up going. And I was like, and that's a long train ride anyway.
Mhm.
Or I was like, I'll pay for half the taxi to go to where I'm going to. They'll drop me right off of my house in Asakusa. It's like in the middle of the tourist capital of all of Japan. I was like, we can do that, and then you pay for the rest of the drive, because he had to go all the way back to Chiba, which is like a beach, which is like 90 minutes outside of, from the place we were in Tokyo. He goes back to the Kaintai dojo and the doors were locked. So he had to wait for 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, all the way to 9:30 and like get up early. Like he literally slept on the curb. He just sat outside on the curb until they opened the doors back up. He sat out there for that amount of time. I guess he sobered up or he caught a nap or whatever, but he had like 3 hours to kill. And the both of us were just tanked out of our minds. And I go, that had to be. And he goes, the workout like that Sunday morning after he got back to the dojo was the worst, because he was just drunk, hungover, hadn't slept on a curb that night. So it's just when you put things into that perspective of just getting yourself through that day just so that you could get some sleep, you're like, oh, I'm never drinking again. And then next weekend you wind up doing it all again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've met so many Americans, Canadian people from the UK that have come through, and so many good people, really good people, give you the shirt off their back, and they ain't got much to give. But yeah, I mean, it never stops being fun.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you're never going to grow up, and you don't want to. Like, it's great, man. You're just making towns, making money, meet different people, and then they know people that are going to get you more work. And it's like I told you before, when it's a full-time thing. Look at this clamshell. Yeah, when it's a full-time thing, you really have to take into consideration all the sacrifice, everything that's involved. But you know what you're getting into. It's yeah. You got to roll with the punches on it. Look what I just found. It was that's a pass from Freedom's show that I did.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I stuck it right on this. So what a
Chainsaw.
Japanese.
Oh, I love that.
One of the little toy chainsaws. You pull the gimmick.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Wow.
One of my gems I keep up there. So much stuff over the years that I've just goofed around with, and I finished reading this, so I'm probably going to put that on eBay.
Oh, Pete Rose.
Yeah, read Pete Rose's autobiography, what it was like to be in the jail he was in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all kinds of wicked stuff. Wow, looking at what I got, what I saved. It's a pretty damn good book. Muhammad Ali.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
It's mostly his philosophy, but there's even children's literature in here, which I read to my kids out of this book when they were younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
All kinds of odds and ends and gems like that.
I love that.
Yeah, I bounced at a nightclub for years. So whenever they would get promotional stuff, like the movie Grudge 2,
Yeah.
they passed out, and it was like a whole bunch of things. The eyeballs that were in this.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I wound up putting them in a jar. It was one of the first times Bad Boy Ito was in America. He bought me that.
Oh, wow.
So I wound up keeping the bottle, and I put all the little eyeballs in it.
Nice. Nice. I love that.
Makes for an interesting.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Makes for a truly odd paperweight, but.
Oh, wow. So how was it recently to step into the old ECW arena to team with Onita? How was that?
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. People knew it coming. They knew it was coming. They saw it.
Oh, yeah.
With me always surgically attached to his hip. If I'm not, man, if I'm not at war with him in Japan, then we take a stand here in America and go, hey, we're FMW. So and two, he's helping me out. I'm in the midst of buying my own dominoes in Japan, and so life after wrestling, one of those things. And, I can provide my friends and even my family with work visas and all that kind of other good stuff. Ultimately, I have long-term far-fetched dreams and goals, but if it happens, it happens. If it don't, at least I know I tried.
Yeah.
I always want to, I'll start with that. And then, what I could do buying out the complex that I've launched my in. And then from there, I want to buy like a giant warehouse so I could, one side maybe teach English, the other side pro wrestling. Just leave a ring up there for the boys to work out in.
Oh, nice.
The rings over
Nice.
here, you can get a ring stateside for $3,000, but over there it's always in the
Nice.
neighborhood of like $5,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is why everybody rents out Shimada, Great Pogo. That's the reason why everybody rents out his ring, because
Oh,
it comes with everything, including like a half dozen workers that are really solid that always wrestle each other. But yeah, as far as like my goals go and the Domino's thing, it's a lot of corporate red tape,
mhm.
which I know I have to be back in Japan for anyway, eventually. So it's like, combine that with selling the stuff that I do and making more and more room for me to, collect other things, mostly my stuff. It's an excellent way to kill time and the money doesn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And on top of it, working a regular job, which I'm going to have to hang around corporate Domino's. I'm going to wind up with my own. I owned my own once before. It was in Morristown, New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Year 2012 came and I just thought about my situation. I was like, kids are going to need college funds. So when I sold it, and two, Japan had come calling. So when I wound up selling my Domino's, it was a nice cushy nest egg to have, to fall back on.
Yeah.
But I always knew it would be there for me again if I wanted to do it. I just didn't want to cope with it stateside.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can always have a career if you have the money available, which at least the money's there. So again, it ties into the whole thing of, killing time and in the meantime and staying busy and trying to make money. And but it also ties in with money. The money doesn't hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to have at least something something for a rainy day and all that good stuff. I mean, I've seen through the quarantine the last 2-3 years, I've seen people hurt financially.
Mhm.
People who didn't set ahead for, another day and that kind of thing. I don't know, I looked at it and it kind of lit the fire up under my ass more than ever. Like, set aside your money, have something, have a backup to a backup
Yeah.
plan.
Oh, for sure.
Well, there's 3 different ways to go about doing it. I could have found a sponsor that would have launched it, and then I wouldn't have to worry about the financial burden whatsoever. Or I could have went the route that I think I'm best going, which is by going through corporate Domino's and that kind of thing. Or I could have wound up, which the third thing is, hey, open it up in your own name.
Yeah.
The only problem is in doing that is Domino's has all the apps and everything. You're already on their Google Maps and, awareness. People know who you are and what you are. And, oh, wow, a Domino's. Even in Japan, they're pretty big. So it's just like, without any kind of, and starting from scratch with your own business, trying to make word of mouth spread while you're busy being inside the.
Oh,
Oh no.
I think
What happened?
I don't know. I think we lost him.
Oh no.
Oh, wait, here we go. He's coming back on.
Oh, there we are, I guess.
Okay,
we
there
have-
we
Lose
go.
each other.
Yeah, we're good.
I figured I'd
You good?
bore people about half to death. I'd bore people with talking about, ensuing life outside of wrestling, corporate decisions. Well, it becomes one of those things where, you grease the skids for life afterwards. I find it's incredible. A lot of the offices over in Japan, they'll offer you to go to school because they don't
Yeah.
want you big around their offices and they don't always want to have to provide work for you.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's one of those things I'm like, if I have been able to, take care of things financially with I mean, it's a blessing from heaven above, the money that I've, so far, wrestling overseas, that kind of thing. If I wasn't able to finance it by now, and I wasn't able to financially get things together by now, it's like, it's just too sad watching people scramble in their latter years for a paycheck.
Yeah,
It's
you're
just,
right. You're right about that.
yeah, it's almost sad to look at when you see the situation that some people are in, because they didn't prepare for anything. It's
Mhm.
just, I told myself from day one it wouldn't be me. And, Paul was another one. When I was going to buy my house, he was the one that was jumping for joy more than anybody, because he's like, at least you planted your roots. I'm like, no, you know that I got a house here now, and you're a cheapskate. Now you don't have to worry about food.
So how was it working and sharing locker rooms with Terry Funk and Cactus Jack?
Actually, Cactus had left before I got to really, when I was a kid, and I have articles and all kinds of stuff on it. I ran his fan club. So
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
well, he had me go back and redub it the Cactus Jack Appreciation Society.
Oh, like
But
Jericho.
yeah, I have to show it to you. It's an entire magazine, like not magazine, but it was a newspaper article done in a local newspaper where I grew up. And they were like talking about how, I was headed into college for broadcast journalism, which ties into a lot of the re-releases they want to do in Japan. Because I guess being bilingual, it's easier for me to provide commentary on indie DVDs and that kind of thing. But yeah, so he took off, and Terry Funk always in and out of Japan and everything. Yeah. The thing is with Funk, you have to get in close because his voice is so soft that
Yeah, it's low.
Like when he's not cutting promos and screaming in the ring, his voice is so soft. You have to keep up with what he's saying, and he just kind of mouths things, and it's kind of strange. But it's Terry Funk, so you're hanging on his every word anyway. You're trying to listen to everything you can without letting him know, sir, I'm your hugest fan, because you don't want to be typecast as that. But
well, yeah, exactly.
As long as he knows initially the respect is there for everything he's done. I mean, it's Terry Funk, for God's sake. It kind of broke Onita and Dreamer's hearts that we didn't go down there and get to see him in Texas. It was 5.5 hours from where we were.
Oh, wow.
From Dallas to Amarillo. And it was just like, with all of our schedules, it was like impossible to pull off.
Yeah.
But if we ever get the chance to, unbelievable. Bully Ray, he wanted to go. Sabu, everybody. I was like thinking of taking money out of my pocket, renting a van. Well, at least, when you look at Dreamer, when you look at Bully Ray, you're like, money is the very least thing that these guys are worried about. Like, these guys
of course.
They were smart with theirs, really smart with it. Dreamer found it fascinating when I described to him about the world of corporate dominoes. He was just like blown away. He was like, yeah, unless you own more than 2 or 3 of them stateside, you're not coming near 6 figures a year. It's not even worth it. Not only that, when they come to do their inspections, they're doing it on one store that's isolated, independently owned, and financed. So it's like they're going to be really rough on you. But getting back to what you were saying, I was in Memphis when Foley, they sent him down there for the whole Mankind thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was actually there and got to see, him before Mankind the Mutilator made his debut. Yeah. And I'll never forget. He had TD Steele in a squash match, and that was the same day I wrestled Road Dogg. Because like Foley critiquing my match, which I think I wrestled Road Dogg maybe, dozens of times. It wasn't just TV, it was on house shows down there, just giving him a quick win. But to watch like Foley, the Body Donnas, all these guys that got signed to, WWE, and even for the Body Donnas to go out there and work out their tag team, stuff like that. And even for them to do that, it was just like, God, I got to see the Body Donnas before they debuted. So many guys that got signed that they would send down to Memphis. And but Mick Foley was one of them. Funk,
Damn.
Funk came into Memphis 2000. God, I want to say 2006, 2007. It was him and Lawler in like a match with like Jimmy Hart and Corey Macklin.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and that was the last time I ever saw the Mid-South Coliseum at damn near full capacity. And Lawler cutting the promo because even the mayor of Memphis came out there. And that was after Lawler's failed bid as running for mayor of
Yeah,
Memphis.
that's right.
Holy crap. Something just reminded me. Check this out. This is wicked. Hang on one second.
Okay. Jerry Lawler.
For this, I have a briefcase. I got a briefcase, and on the briefcase it has the Lawler for mayor
Nice.
bumper sticker. I'll never forget. I was driving one time, and I just hear, "Hey, nice fucking bumper sticker!" And I looked over at Lawler with his girlfriend. He was driving. I'm looking for the briefcase, and I can't find it. Usually, I know where everything of mine is. Yeah, here it is. Can you still hear me very well?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's part of the bumper sticker. I found it. See it?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
look
wow.
at that. Nice.
Yeah. I saved it after all these years.
Nice.
After all these years, I saved that. After all these
king.
years, I saved that. I'll never forget that though. Him flying around me. It was Hickory Farms in Memphis. It's a suburb out in
Okay.
Bartlett. And there's just nothing but acres and acres of stuff growing. I'll never forget him driving alongside of me. Hey, nice fucking bumper sticker. He's sitting on his ass while his girlfriend, he made her fucking drive. Like that.
Oh man.
It's now turned sideways with this horrid
Okay, no
actually it
problem.
might be
No
yeah, it's
problem.
turned sideways because I had to plug my phone in because it was dying.
Okay.
Yeah, mine was too.
Yeah.
Was it? You finally found a place to hook it up.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys could hear me. I was actually plugging it in, plugging it out.
Oh yeah, definitely. So like there two wrestlers that I always loved that wrestled in Japan was the great Kabuki and Hayabusa. Did you ever get a chance to meet them or hang out with them or be on the same show with them?
Yeah, I gotta wind up sending you. Maybe I'll send you a bunch of pictures. It's pictures of like me, Hayabusa, me and Bull Nakano, me and this
Nice.
person. It's like every single person that you guys are talking about, I've hung out with and gotten pictures with over the years. Like, especially in the latter years when you're carrying around the camera in your pocket at all times with the cell
Yeah.
phone. Yeah, so Bull Nakano all the time. Hayabusa, I would go so far as to, he was also a poet, philosopher, and a singer. So whenever
I heard he did sing. Yeah.
yeah, and I would just go there and I just listen to him, just like a regular fan. I'd pay for my ticket. But eventually some of the fans started catching on. So they're like, oh, I'll go with you. I'll take care of your ticket. And I would just sit there and listen to Hayabusa.
Oh wow.
It's a way to support him too. Even though I
Nice.
even though I had already owned like 4 or 5 copies of the same CD, he'd be out there selling his CDs. So it was like,
Nice.
buy another one. It's money in his pocket.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it's not like he wasn't wrestling anymore. He was doing appearances here and there, but he wasn't doing any real wrestling anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, it's the only income that he has. So,
Yeah.
go out there. That was my whole thing. Like, take some money out of your pocket and give it to him. Because without him, without guys like him laying down the original work and all that thing, I mean, a guy like me would have never got the chance to surface anywhere in Japan. And not only that, he's a true inspiration that keeps you going too at the same time. So I would see him, Kabuki. Yeah, I mean, all those pictures I'm going to wind up sending to you guys.
Okay.
So if you,
Yeah.
if you want to put them out there, yeah, feel free.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I'm proud that I had the time and patience and effort that I got out there, and I wound up getting a picture with those guys. So I'm going to try to cut off this lighting. This is going to be infuriating. Let me see if the other one works. Otherwise, you're just looking at the soft glow off the screen of looking at me.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Even that light's too much, though. I got to block the light just to get my face in there.
And,
This is so much fun.
yeah, it definitely is. If fans want to
angle the light out of the
if fans want to buy your merch and the stuff you sell and LeatherFace stuff, like is there a certain site they have to go on, or can they just message you?
Oh, they could easily just message me. I have an enormous DVD, like a list of everything that I have, which it's so funny because when people go, yeah, send it to me, then they don't seem to realize that it's going to take days upon days upon days for them to go through it. I mean, it's just the DVD listings alone, like, hey, these are DVDs I have. Well, then on top of that, they have the listings. So, I mean, they'd have to, read through all the listings. And I mean, I'm completely honest with the match listings. I'll tell somebody, hey, this sucks. This wrestling is really fucking bad. Some of the appeal, though, is people will go out and buy the worst Japanese indie wrestling stuff they can find, just so they can read along with my review of it and laugh their ass off about it. God, some of that stuff is so bad. Some of that stuff you're like, these guys were trained and they're this bad. And you're like, sometimes you'll ask yourself, like, hey, are these guys even trying?
Yeah, right.
You're like, that's the saddest thing, is that they're really trying and they're really this bad. It has its own charm anyway. Like, I don't know if you're aware of the humongous cult following that Survival Tobita has.
No.
But he'll wrestle lake monsters and the convenience store robber and all kinds of crazy intergalactic monsters, And as goofy as it sounds, it still has a massive cult following.
Oh my God.
Some of my better friends I have met over the years, because I made a Facebook group for Saitama Pro and that kind of thing. But out of that, people message me anyway, and hey man, I'd like to have some of these DVDs, or I'd like to have. I even have old VHS that are all around me too. So
nice.
It's the ultimate master. It's the ultimate backup, because to destroy a DVD, you can destroy in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you clean them too hard, they break.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, so it's like VHS. To destroy a VHS and VHS something material, I mean, you have to make a valiant effort to destroy every bit of that footage. Like, you would have to make a real effort to destroy a VHS to where it's no longer redeemable of anything. And I even had VHS parts, so it's funny. Out of the Portland area, I had a bunch of people like buy up my old master VHSs from just Portland wrestling alone.
Mm-hmm.
Al Tomko's old territory in Vancouver. Yeah. I'm amazed. I mean, it creates so much space for me. But like I said, I've backed all this stuff up on, terabytes and that kind of thing. And you see, as the years go on, the terabytes, they get cheaper and cheaper, and they get smaller and smaller to have to carry around. The 4 or 5 terabyte drives were great for me.
Well, yeah, because it does hold a lot of stuff. The more byte, of course, a 4 and a 5 terabyte is bigger than the 2, so like that holds a lot.
Yeah, and it took me 2 full weeks, but I filled up an entire 4 terabyte drive. That'll
Wow.
tell you how many DVDs and
Yeah,
how
that's
much.
a lot of hours.
Yeah, that tells you how many DVDs and how much, how busy I've been doing that kind of thing. And
Yeah, exactly.
I'll never complain. It's like having another job though. It's I'll be on top of it because you come across people that have some fascinating stuff, and you're like, I never even knew that existed. I remember years ago, before Tugboat was even Big Steel Man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Before that, Florida territory, he was in Georgia. And I was like, what is this? Like, what the hell? I never would have imagined it would have existed on video. But yeah, it's like I got that, and then maybe 2, 3 years later, somebody put it up on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, that just kills the mystique,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
somebody just dumps it off on YouTube. How they were able to get around the copyright, I'll never know. But yeah, to me, it's not so valued if it's just something you're just gonna take and dump on YouTube. It's like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. The thing is, you go out of your way, you find what you think is fascinating, and even if nobody else finds it like that intriguing, it's you, and and it's something pleasurable that you enjoy. So, what difference does it make what anybody else has to say or think?
Yeah,
If it's
true.
just
You're
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
You're right about that.
if it's just gonna sit and collect dust, like
Yeah.
that's yours though. Like that's yours. That's what you're into. Obviously, it's not anybody else that finds it any kind of fascinating or intriguing. Otherwise, they would have done it themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And the last question I'll ask you. I just realized how long I had you on here, and I apologize. The last question I'll ask you is where can fans find you at? Like, what's your pages?
Well, I mean, Facebook, under my legal name, Tony Myers. The Instagram thing, actually on the new t-shirt that I sell, it plugs the Instagram and the Twitter. Twitter, Tony Myers 74. Instagram, FMW, Chainsaw Tony, Leather. This is to assure that nobody else will have the same handle.
That's
So,
true.
yeah, I don't imagine too many people out there having that handle. But Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I got TikTok, but I never. What am I going to post on there? I thought, maybe dancing to Santeria by Sublime or something.
There you go. There you go.
The dancing chainsaw.
Yeah. Well, they caught the clip of, I'm a humongous fan of the Last Dragon. So legit, they put tape on me to where I couldn't move. You got tape wrapped all around you. So I started doing the breakdancing scene with a little kid breakdancing just to get out of the chains that he's tied up in. I did the same thing with the tape. Some people caught it, other people didn't. Other people were like, well, why would LeatherFace dance? It's like, yeah, because I'm having a good time out there. I'm just enjoying myself. When that DVD set comes out, they got everything from me and Nao Shisano fighting in a strip club, no ring, strippers running everywhere, screaming, like over in Japan, just all kinds of goofy, wacky, bizarre, wild. And there I am with my own DVD commentary to describe to people what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Why are these people doing this? And even to the most bizarre thing where it's obviously because they're paying you good dollar to come in and do that.
Well, yeah.
So it's like, where would the money be coming from if you're only charging $45 a ticket, but you're only able to fit 20 fans in there?
Yeah, exactly.
Believe me, they're making their money. It's like if they haven't had a job, if they haven't had something worked out with the building, who the building's probably paying them, a nice chunk of it,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to find a way to hustle and make their money. Business people. They're sophisticated Japanese businessmen.
Oh,
They're a
yeah.
different breed altogether. Yeah. I mean, to a scary degree, they have to do it. It's it never gets boring. It never grows old. I don't think I'm ever going to grow out of it. And the day I do, it'll probably be the day that I'm physically too old to be able to pull any of it off anyway. So, no matter what, no matter what it is, your trek in life. I mean, if it's something that you enjoy, if it's something that you're into, it's going to mean something to you. And I mean, who else are you living through? Like, why base the gauge of success in the places that you've been on what somebody else
You're
says
right.
or does or has? Because, you know, they have different goals, they have different agendas, they have a different frame of mind. They obviously they're different people. Just kind of the way that I've always looked at it too.
No, yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. Like, you have to really compare with your next door neighbor whose driveway looks better.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's like, maybe this guy never had a goal. Maybe he never had any kind of like, maybe he thought it was never an achievement to have his own house. Maybe he's just happy in an apartment. That's somebody else. That's their way of thinking. That's their way of life. I don't see why somebody else would have to do what someone else does.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. It is.
My dreams and the things I've accomplished are so weird, obscure, and bizarre that, you know, how would you ever get to describe that to people where your fascination comes from it? It probably takes so long to just describe to just your average person alone. Like, who are these people? What are they doing? And
Yeah.
why is this so violent or crazy or whatever?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you become immune to the violence, so that there wipes out that.
Hmm.
Along the way, you know, you meet a lot of friends, you know, and what a bizarre way to have friends is the same people that are friggin', you know, hurting themselves the same kind of way.
I know, exactly right.
Pretty strange way to like bond with.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I want to thank you again for doing this, for coming on the show. It's been so much fun talking to you and getting to hear all the stories.
I've
And
been trying for the longest time. We have been trying for the longest time to get this
I
together.
know exactly. You're right. You're right.
It's always been one issue after another.
So much, yeah.
You can imagine me at a regular job talking to you, but here I am without a regular job, and I'm over here making people's DVDs. So doing that and pulling all my info off. But anybody that wants to get a hold of me, I'm so easily accessible. Tony Myers, Saitama, Japan.
Mhm.
You look that up anywhere on Facebook. SAITAMA. TONYMYRS. Or, you know, the Instagram, I give the handle for that. So
Yeah.
I'm easily accessible.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess I'm more grounded and down to earth than people realize.
Right? you would never think a guy swinging a chainsaw wearing a skin mask would be so nice, right?
I love it.
Kind of settle down and mellow when he's not sleeping, you know. But yeah. Stick a chainsaw in his hand and put a mask on him, though. You got to run the opposite way.
No, exactly.
I'll wait for my cousin one day to show up over here and hook up this damn VCR.
Okay.
So I can make my old copies, you know, rip everything from VHS to
Yeah.
DVD again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, just to platform with you guys.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's been a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Thank you for this.
You got to come back. You got to come back to the 2300 arena.
Yeah, that I'll say this, and it's kind of sounds weird in 2022. I still believe in kayfabe. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, there you have it. Even especially when people are bidding on things or someone's trying to offer more money than the next person for like just a bunch of old stuff that I have, old t-shirts. I've actually sold like WWF t-shirts from my childhood.
Oh,
And
wow.
posters and all kinds of wacky stuff, just little things that I collected. And even in that line of work, I learned, hey, you got to kayfabe, because if you go on record, you know, maybe this guy doesn't want to go on record to say how much he paid for my mask or
Right.
worn gear. You know, then you still have to believe in the art of kayfabe. Why not just invite all the fans out, you know, to the back there and just, you know, go over all your shit there. Like it's eventually got to cut off, you know?
Yeah, true.
I tell that to like newer wrestlers too. They're like breaking in. I'm like, I know that we're in a different day and era, but you're
Yeah.
going to have to believe in some form of kayfabe, because
Yeah.
when you start telling your friends and family that you spent all this money on your gear, you spent all this money to drive out to the place, you
Mhm.
spent all the money on the gas and tolls and everything, and when they find out what you really made, that you know, paid to wrestle or whatever, they're going to
Yeah.
think you're an idiot anyway. So why wouldn't you just kayfabe that, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, me and my friends, that's what they would hate around Japan, was that we would just go to each other and just talk about our payouts, like in front of everybody. We didn't care, because we're like, you know, and that's what the promoters didn't want. You know, they're like, come on in. If it's a good house, it's a good house. If it's not, oh, oh well. But then like 5 or 6 of us would sit down and go over our payouts and be like, what the fuck? You were in the main event, man. How the hell did you get less than me? Like, this doesn't make sense. Let's go and fix this. You know, before that, nobody really wanted to talk about their own, you know. With us, we're more along looking out for each other. But as for
Yeah,
what
that's
else,
what it's all about.
as for what else I said about kayfabe, yeah, it's got to be that way
Oh yeah.
for so many reasons. You'll you know, 3.5 of the most important words I probably learned about wrestling long ago is I don't know. You're never gonna get any heat if you said I don't know.
Exactly.
You're gonna get heat if you tell somebody what you do know. But you pull the I don't know, you're not gonna wind up with any real heat.
It's a good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're working at a regular job, what do you think about him? Isn't that guy an asshole? I don't know.
Yeah.
Then you watch.
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll be friends by next week, and then they're gonna point the finger at you and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, that guy stirred up the pot between us. He told me he didn't like you."
Yeah. He called you an asshole.
Yeah, I just called me a dickhead, man. What the fuck? It's like, well, he kind of egged it on. So there's even a DVD here of a death match takes place on a car out in the middle of a field.
Nice.
Yeah, and then they have another one where a death match takes place during someone's wedding.
Nice.
Like I said, the wacky world of Japanese indie wrestling. You never, I mean, the shit that I have seen, and to describe to somebody what's going on,
I don't know.
it's they seemingly have done everything under the sun to get people to come to watch wrestling. Which is a great thing. It's under the wrestling umbrella, and it's all universal, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll always be dubbed as pro wrestling.
Well, yeah,
pro wrestling fits under all the different umbrellas.
Yeah. Well, once again, man, thank you so much for doing this, and it's been a lot of fun. Me and Billy had fun. Thank you again
I
for
loved
this,
it.
and definitely have
I
like
think
a great night.
There's got to be a place I can get it, man. It's gonna be great. I need to check it out myself. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Whenever you get that thing up or whatever.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll definitely have it up by the end of the week.
Oh,
You gotta come.
only
You
fault.
gotta come back on again.
Yeah, definitely for sure.
Oh yeah, and I'd be honored to. Just like I was honored being on here today. There's only one person I follow on Instagram, and that's the guy that did the LeatherFace gimmick before me, Rick Patterson, Canada.
Oh, sweet, nice.
Talking to him, I always pick his brain. He's just nicest guy. You'll hear that over and over about him a billion times. Nicest guy, and he is, for everything he's been through and everything that it is, all the different territories and everything. It's like you're not going to tell a guy like that ever that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah, absolutely an incredible human being. True inspiration in and outside the ring. Good people like that.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's what you really need in the wrestling business. You need really decent people to
Oh,
look
yeah.
out for one another.
Of course, I want to curse out the day he started doing that damn moonsault in every match, because I've had to do one and the same for the last 21, 22 years. But yeah, different story for another time.
Yeah.
It goes well. Pray I don't shatter my kneecaps or anything. Yeah, like I said, honor and absolute privilege, man. And just talking with you guys.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like,
You live the memories, and
always love talking about wrestling, and I've always been a fan of Japanese wrestling. So it was really good hearing everything, hearing all the stories.
Japanese indies are some of the most fun I've ever had in my whole life, because you never know what you're going to walk into. You never know who or what or how, or just all the wacky stuff that happens over in Japan. You're like, God,
And I bet the food is really good there too.
oh my God. You no matter what you eat, you can't gain a friggin' pound. You're walking everywhere. It's so good for you. Look around at the people. They're all like in good shape. You
Yeah,
know,
that's true.
you come to America, everybody's all jumbo sized. You're like, oh, Christ. It's like it looks like someone sewed up everyone's asshole over here or something. It's like they I started dieting and started eating the salad at my job and everything, just because it started feeling like shit, overeating, having all food on my stomach.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It got to the point where I'm like, this isn't going to end well. There is no good thing about this. You're just not for cosmetic purposes. It's because it feels like shit. You drop something on your floorboard and now you're like out of breath. Your stomach is all big. Oh God. It just seems to go on and on, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Make of it what you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what you can do, man.
I actually would hear people piss and moan about, about being in Japan, about being homesick. And one of the best things I overheard ever was Terry Gordy like, well, guess they don't want to come back. So, yeah, no kidding. You're going to complain about it. What makes you think they're going to want your ass back here?
I know.
They can eventually, like, you speak Japanese for so long, or you listen to Japanese so long, and you're like, what? Like, I heard that perfectly, what he just said. I know what that means. I know what he's saying. It's just strange how it all just, chip away. You know how to eat an elephant, don't you?
Eat an elephant?
One bite at a time. And boy, ain't that the truth.
That is.
You look at an elephant, you go, no way. How could you? Well, one bite at a time.
Right, exactly. That's how you eat everything.
It'll eventually be done. I just truly do appreciate you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
To me, man. So, yeah, you just keep on moving, man.
Exactly.
You'll be on to the next person that you're talking to, and and that kind of thing. But we get to relive these memories.
Oh my God, yeah, it was great.
Absolutely, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
For the annals of humanity, this will always be there. This will always be around.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
it's floating around somewhere on the internet or somewhere. How cool is that? 200 years from now, they might unearth this.
Yeah, you never know.
And find out more than some things they might not have known about Japanese Indies.
All right, buddy. Again, thanks for doing this, and definitely have a great night.
Oh man, thank you guys so much again. Had a great time as always, man.
Same.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, man. You guys take very good care, man. I guess I'll let you be for now.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, bud.
So cool, man.
Definitely, definitely.
I really rock the gimmick too, man. I really do.
It's addictive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gets addicting. Like it gets to the point you don't want to take the mask off or anything like that. You just want to keep on going.
Yeah.
A lot of times I've gotten on a train with it. Well, these people have to expect that I'm a normal enough guy to like sit on a train, and how else did I get there? And yeah, there'll be several times I'll just get on the train with the leather mask and everything. As time goes on and more like pussification of the world increases,
Yeah.
nobody's got the balls to say anything to you. They're just like, oh, well, maybe that man has a disability. Maybe he identifies as being being a monster.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what happens in America, direct reflection of what's going on overseas.
Oh, wow.
I knew that day it came when years ago. One of the biggest record companies, one of the hugest producers in the entire country, came out and said that he was gay.
Mm-hmm.
The level of acceptance for it, you were like, a new dawn has arrived in Japan, because years ago, that wouldn't have flown stateside, much less
Yeah.
in Japan. Wouldn't have been accepted nearly the way that it was. We're just a part of a different era.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything. Some things stayed the same, which is great. Other things, it's all changed. Whether it's for the good or better of somebody and somebody else, you just have to accept it and move on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Japanese. Their level of acceptance for things is just off the charts. Like, yeah, my father died. Well, I do have to go to work. It's like, what? Most American people would have taken off for decades.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mental health day and that kind of thing. It's another one of those big time buzzwords nowadays. So mental health, mental awareness, cancer awareness, as if we needed any more awareness of it.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Creating awareness. Awareness of anything. I mean, sell a bracelet with something written on it for everything. But yeah, in the meantime, while others are doing that, oh yeah, the gift FMWE came straight from their office. Probably find this fascinating.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The barbed wire and then the FMWE on the
Yes. Nice. Nice.
Oh wow.
wall. Was something they sent me with a bunch of other stuff. So
Wow.
I thought it was cool. It's like every time if I sit here and do this and a couple strands of my hair come out, put the hair in the barbed wire and have the hair floating around in the barbed wire. They sent me my actual shirt, which you might as well just say is company uniform. One you've seen everywhere wearing the company shirt. It'll never stop being fun.
Never.
Nope. No way.
Just until the day that I'm told I can't do it anymore, or the day that I feel I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's when I know it'll stop being fun.
Fun lasts forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, definitely.
I mean, it is a job.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
still a job. Like make money
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's even growing up, you're a kid, you don't know any better. So you're thinking to yourself, like, there's got to be a catch to it. You
Yeah.
don't realize that you go up there and you see so many other people, miserable people you're surrounded yourself with, and you're like, maybe this sucks for them, but they never thought about what it would be like if it was like full-time work and what they had to do for a year. It was like what was all the preparation for? Like that didn't dawn on you that you'd be doing this like 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 days a week sometimes. To me, there was no better way to spend your time.
Oh, right.
Everything's
Yeah.
utopia. Yeah. It's like your pro wrestling utopia. You turn around everywhere, pro wrestling is still in your face. You never burn out on it. Just want to know more and more about what this guy has to say or what's going on with the with something else. The modern product, I hear about it. I don't make it a point to watch it too much because I think I've seen like everything under the sun seemingly. Or I've seen it done on Japanese indies, and I'm like, why are these people freaking out at this? Like,
Yeah, because it wasn't done here yet.
it was what, Matt Stryker that did the Shooting Star Press,
Yeah.
and Randy Orton had caught him in the RKO on his way down. And I remember just everybody's mind being blown, everybody thinking that's the greatest thing they ever saw. And I'm like, those CZW kids have been doing that shit for 10 years.
Yeah, that's
I was like,
true.
I've seen that spot used before. And I'm like, So by the time everybody got done, like ranting and raving about how it was the most incredible spot they've ever seen, I'm like, I have seen so many of them kids from CZW pull off the same thing
Yeah.
because it was on an indie basis, and
Yeah, no one really paid
Yeah.
attention to it. Yeah,
because it was only in front of like 100 fans. or whatever.
exactly.
That's where the people sell themselves short when they don't get into like indie wrestling, and they don't, they don't see what else is out there. It's just all or nothing for them. Like, if it's not the perception of the big time WWE, they don't want to pay attention. Well, because then all of a sudden, like AEW comes along,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow, it's like you people could have been paying attention to the Young Bucks for years before this. All the other places they went.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's Pro Wrestling Gorilla out there with Kevin Owens on there and Generico and Sami Zayn. All that stuff was out there. It's like you could have been surfing and found yourself some good indie wrestling.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
people sell themselves short. That's all it is. They're missing the boat. That's what they miss out on. To me, there's a whole world of indie wrestling out there. It just doesn't have to be. Yeah, it never had to just be Ring of Honor. It never just had to be Impact. It's stuff everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to search for it, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I'll guarantee those guys aren't making nearly what the WWE guys are making.
No,
but
definitely not.
I'll guarantee you they're having about as much, if not more, fun than what someone else's bank account reflects.
That's true.
When you look at it that way. I've seen it happen over the years. So I mean, it's happened countless times where guys get to doing it on like a regular basis.
Yeah,
they're making a career out of it, and it's like WWE, their ultimate goal, but they're just miserable. We're looking for a way out. They want to join buddies in AEW. Well, I mean, they have to fix themselves. It's not nothing I can understand. But then again, I mean, I was more of it I would enjoy, like a drug. You can almost relate to how a drug addict feels, because you're like, oh, this is, you just want more of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't wait for the next like WrestlePro DVD to come out.
Exactly.
Download that's available from Battleground Championship Wrestling, or any of that stuff. How fantastic is WrestleMania week? And I go in there, and it's all the pictures that are on my Instagram of the most. It was billed as the most WTF match of the weekend with Team Onita and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you're over there and you're watching Juice Robinson talking with the Rock and Roll Express, who he's teamed up with.
Yeah.
God, I love wrestling. Look on their face, they're all excited.
Oh yeah, exactly. I know.
Yeah, I love it.
Rick Flair himself trying to get back in the ring now.
I know. I saw that. Yeah.
If his health will allow it, I don't see the problem with it.
Well, yeah. If his health is good and he could do one final match, then go for it.
I bought a whole bunch of these, like a whole case, because the movie Midnight Madness.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, wow.
Brewery.
yeah. Well, I have to go walk the dog before he messes in the house. So,
That's important. Yeah.
so once again, man, like thank you so much for doing this, and I definitely would love to have you back on again, and again, thanks for doing this and get my dog out before he goes in the house.
I'll let you guys be in this. Thank you once again for the platform, and man, I had a blast. Stroll down memory lane with a lot of it. A lot to get off my chest, which is great, without having to pay for therapy to do it. So imagine me telling this to a therapist and be like, what? But yeah, thank you as always, you guys, man. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Just another-
definitely, man. Thanks.
Anytime, man.
Really appreciate that. But yep, you guys take good care. I don't know how you kick me out of the room or what
Oh
happens
yeah.
here,
Okay. Yeah. Let me do that. All right, buddy. Well, thanks
Right.
again, and have a good night.